5 things that you need to do in order to have a successful cold approach. Someone which has cold approach 500 plus girls, I know what works and I know what doesn't. And you've been cold approaching for a while, getting rejected, etc. But fix is 5 things if you want to get more numbers in. Ready? Let's begin with the video and then we'll waste any more of your time. The first thing that you need to do, or number one rather, is to seem confident even if you're not. I mean, sure, you approach a girl, and that's obviously separates you from most guys. Most guys are really cowards and they don't know how to, they don't usually go for the shot. But you took the shot, but you still carry on that energy. You still carry on that weak energy of having low confidence. And if you carry on with that weak energy, I mean, seriously, it comes up from a lot of things. It comes up from you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you're scared of her rejecting you, etc. But even so, seem confident, even if you're not. Even if you're not confident, seem confident. Even if you don't know what to say, own it. Own it, because when they pick up from that weak energy, they start to go like, you know what, I'm better than this guy. I'm now in control. You basically giving them control if you go in there with a weak frame. If you're easily shaken off, you easily you know picked upon by the girl. Trust me, that will lessen your points, and overall she'll not view you as a guy who's worthy. That's more likely she'll reject you if you got that weak presence. That you know, excuse me, nah. Just say it with confidence. Even if you're scared as hell, just force the confidence out. Number two, you need to hold a strong frame. I mean, most of the times when you approach a girl, they do what they call online shit test. So shit test is basically a girl testing your confidence, testing how you are, testing to see what type of person you are. And if you don't hold frame, for example, when I usually call approach girls, I usually go like, hey, what's your name? They then shit test me. Why should they tell me your name? It's not that they're being literal, but then usually most of the time it's a subconscious language that goes like, okay, you're here, but are you confident enough to handle me? Are you confident enough to withstand my attitude and everything like that? The attitude they gave you is actually shit test, and most confident guys would actually they know their way on how to go around them. But then if you lose frame and obviously hesitate and obviously mumble your words, then you significantly increasing your chances of getting rejected. When you hold frame, she'll actually respect you, and you'd actually not dominate her. You'd actually not dominate over the confidence and the whole interaction. Because you know what, if you lose in frame, then she gets to control the whole dynamic, and then when she controls the whole dynamic, trust me, you're getting rejected. Because obviously you approached her, now you need to lead the interaction with a strong frame, not the weak frame. If you lead that with a weak frame, trust me, she'll take over the whole thing, and then boom, you're getting yourself a nice rejection. Number three, present yourself well. If you present yourself well, you have a crazy advantage. You know what I've noticed? When I call approach calls, literally, the chances of them accepting me almost comes from how I seem as a person, how I, act out. The way I'm dressed, how I smell, how I walk, my face structure, what type of person do I look like, etc. But if you present yourself to a person which is most likely to be accepted, you look respectful, you look clean, you look even smelling good, even speaking, the way you speak. I mean, the way you speak, damn English, the way you speak. Because I live in a township and all that. In a township in South Africa called Alexandra. So most girls, if you present yourself in that gassy vibe, as we call them, in that gassy vibe, they'll likely reject you because those guys seem like players. They seem like people which are uninterested. Not all the time, but based on the type of girl you're approaching, right? But just how you present yourself to the girl determines how you be accepted. If you come off there with a rushed energy, you seem agitated and all that. Trust me, nah. But overall, look good, dress well, also smelling good. Oh, trust me. That's more likely you'd accept the chances. For me, I'm guilty of you know approaching girls without presenting my best self. You know, also it's actually an advantage because I approach girls even though I look like shit. My clothes are like greased up and everything like that, and then I really could approach girls with doing that. But overall, that lessened my chances. That lessened my chances. But in the good side, it did improve my confidence. It did teach me the skill of going there without feeling prepared, without being prepared and all that, which is a useful skill in life. But if you want a successful cold approach, don't do my mistake where you go off with creased clothes, with, you know, you don't present your best self. I mean, right now, I'm like kind of bold and all that. I'm not usually my most attractive self right now, but when I usually like do a cut, taper fade, Kendrick and all that, mwah, I look, mwah, trust me. Number 4, be natural. What do you mean by being natural? I mean, come on. You've obviously watched these Riz videos on TikTok, YouTube, etc., etc. And obviously, Riz nowadays, or rather pickup lines. Yeah, pickup lines, right? Pickup lines are just, they seem too childish and the girl's not gonna take you seriously. It rarely works. It like rarely works. It depends on how you execute it, on how the situation is. But based, you need like hard context based elements in order to have a successful approach, right? When using pickup lines. Pickup lines, don't use them. Just be natural. Just go over there, be honest. Like, yo, you know what? I saw you there, you know, you look pretty, you know. And then she'll be like, thank you, blah, 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 blah. And then don't usually script stuff. Don't usually script stuff like line by line, exactly what you're going to say, because it's going to come off forced and fake, and you don't want to carry off that energy. Another good example on how I cold approach girls in a natural way is examine them first. Examine them first, examine the situation, and start off from there. That's actually like a really golden advice, because when you start off from there, like based on when you start off from the context of like what's going on, what is she wearing, how does she look like, etc., etc., that gives you um more things to talk about, and the longer the conversation, the more you build connection. Because let's be honest, I did this mistake where I usually called approach girls, and then I usually got the numbers, but then when I texted them, they wouldn't reply. Why? Because I didn't build enough familiarity. When you usually go to a girl, make the conversation as long as possible. Going there for getting to know her, not just for the numbers. That's also another killer. If you go there just to get the numbers, trust me, you know you would succeed, and there are instances where you'd should obviously reply when you text her, etc., etc. But then most of the time, especially if you're a loser, and you didn't build enough familiarity, you didn't build enough curiosity and enough intrigue, then those numbers are just gonna be a ghosted message later on. So just don't make that mistake, and just go there, examine, just be natural. Hey, so you beautiful, or maybe just like events going like, hey, what brings a beautiful girl like to those in this event? She'd be like, blah 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 blah. But just be natural, and from your natural state, you need to improve from there. Because let's be honest, you obviously talk shit, you obviously fumble, you obviously pull up some cringe, like starter and all that. But just improve from there on. Improve from your flaws and refine. That's a system that I use. Action, feedback, improvement, refinement. That's the best system. Rather than going online scripting. If you have a script, rather use a flexible script which will you know allow you to be flexible in the conversation, not sound like a robot or you know. Yeah. And listen, before I carry on with the last tip, make sure to book a free call down in the description, right? A free call, because if you obviously watch this part of the video, it means you're someone which is like really interested in cold approaching girls and everything like that. And I'm the guy which can help you with that. If you want someone who which can give you quick advice, see where you can improve for your current tailored state, then book this free call. Just make sure to also give this a thumbs up, bro. Let's carry on with the video. And of course, number 5. I just said it a bit earlier on, or just right up now, but just focus on get focus on the connection rather than numbers. If you go there for the numbers or just to get validation from your boys or all that, then you won't make it as impactful as possible. If you want something that's truly like successful, or maybe the success of a cold approach depends on how you define it. But for me, how I define a successful cold approach is, did the girl vibe with me? Did I build a connection when I went to her? Did I get her numbers? You know, does she still think about our interaction even after the cold approach? That's how I determine a successful cold approach, and hopefully that's also your definition of a successful cold approach, not just getting numbers. Because let's be honest, most of y'all get numbers and then boom, she goes to. She goes to. Why? Because there was no connection built. There wasn't any connection built. And you'll be like, hi, it's that handsome guy from last night, blah 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 blah, and then boom, ghost. Why? Because you weren't that interesting. Maybe you didn't present yourself, or maybe you didn't maybe do the rest of the other things I listed previously. But then just don't go there for the numbers. When you go there to build a connection, your energy comes off different. Your energy comes off much more natural, much more relaxed, and you know, much more intriguing for her. That's how your energy comes off. But if you go there for the numbers, then hey, what's up? You beautiful. Can I get your numbers? That really works. That really works. And you want something that obviously most of the time works. And what usually works most of the time is literally getting to know her. Building a connection, even like talking 30 minutes. I've called approach girls and I've usually called approach girls, right? If I could bring you a nerdy chart of me cold approaching girls and talking to them like for a long time, like let's say 30 minutes, 1 hour, etc., etc. And then for me, just 2 minutes, 2 minute cold approach. The most successful one is the longer it is, because the longer is the longer one. Sorry, because the longer it is, the more connection was built. And the longer the connection, or the longer the conversation, and etc., etc., the more she's going to remember you, the more she's going to get excited, go like, oh, it's XOL-ANI, there's familiarity built up from that. If you're good at building familiarity, when cold approaching girls, trust me, you game on. And what does that acquire? It actually acquires you to have good social skills. Good social skills like, carrying on the conversation. If you're literally that guy which usually mm, freezes up when the conversation gets dry, or really you're not interesting, you're maybe too logical, and the conversation just dries off. You don't know how to lead a conversation with a girl, then trust me, you should start off from, let's say, the shorter cold approaching conversations, or the shorter cold approaches rather. And then you progress onward. Maybe make it like 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, then or maybe 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, etc., etc. But trust me, everything that I said, it depends on the context of where you're in. Like, it depends on the context, how's the girl, your environment, how you met, the vibe, etc., etc. Not everything is just a strict rule, but just take what I just said into mind. Take what I just said into mind. Let me just look for them, write down the thingy right here. So as I said, number one, seem confident if you're not, right? Then number two, hold your frame. Number three, present yourself well, right? Number four, be natural. Number five, which is the last one, which we're talking about right now, do not focus on getting numbers and focus on building connection first. When you build a connection, trust me, that's when she's more likely into you. And but also by applying all these. Anyway, if you want tailored advice based on your cold approaching game, your maybe even improving your social life, your confidence, etc. Because I help young men improve their social life through these three pillars. Social skills, intimacy, and overall confidence. And if you're socially awkward, rarely talk to girls, or maybe anything in correlation, just book the free call down in the link description, right? And I'm gonna see you there. Make sure to also subscribe and like this video. And I just chose to just do a raw video where I just blab, and yeah, no scripts, no nothing. It's a really short script right here. But anyway, thank you, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.